Hi, and welcome to Lesson 9. You might think everyone wants the same thing in a relationship. Well, you would be mistaken. You might think that at least everyone wants to be loved. Even that love song goal of a relationship is not the primary desire for everyone. Yes, the initial feelings of infatuation may draw one person to another, but that may not be what they want for a long term relationship. Your unconscious mind influences your attraction to others and how you approach relationships, but unconscious forces also continue to shape your long term romantic relationship in some surprising ways. It's funny that all humans want to experience the almost euphoric nature of being in love, of catching the eye of someone that finds you impossible to stay away from. But there are unseen factors that begin to push away the possibilities of a long term relationship. For example, our parents' relationship is our first and most influential example of how to interact and communicate in a romantic relationship. How love was shown between parents is influential on the child. This makes sense because when you think about it, your parents are your only example of pretty much everything when you're really young and probably just accept the way that they do things to be right, even if it's not. After all, how would you know? For instance, if your parents were not very affectionate and hardly ever hugged or kissed, you may have an aversion to affection as an adult. More often than not, children will model and emulate the way their parents show love to one another. Plus, how love was expressed to the child is also significant. The same is true in the ways in which anger and conflict were managed in your family of origin. That earlier programming plays a significant role in how we communicate with our romantic partners. Whether or not a person lends to express their emotions more openly or leans in the direction of passive aggressive frequently parallels how their parents communicate with each other and with the child. When I met my ex husband, I was intrigued by how much time his family spent together. My family, while very close, was always on the move, always up to something. We are a family that rises early in the morning and will spend all day with projects that have meaning for us. Our time spent together is a match of wits, and we respectfully challenge each other. My former in laws offered a new kind of gathering where the men clustered in one corner and the women in another. This was difficult for me at times, depending on the topic of conversations. Sometimes I wanted to know what the men were talking about. It seemed to be more interesting, but that was not allowed. Also, a challenge for me was wanting to walk with my ex hand in hand. My parents were very much in love with each other, and PDA was not a problem for them. They also displayed affection for us. I longed for that expression with my ex, but his response was to convince me that such a desire was a fairy tale, and I should accept that he loved me. I believed that he did, but his love was not a match for how I wanted to be loved and how I wanted to be regarded as a woman. It wasn't until I took the time to research and study that I came to understand that what kept us from being closer was the resistance to the other's view of what should be happening in our relationship. The unconscious beliefs that were programmed during our formative years were at the core of everything we saw as a lack in our relationship. Now, I want you to remember that not everything with the unseen influencer was learned. Sometimes we're carrying cultural pain bodies from generations before us that influence how we respond to touch or intimacy. Trauma passed on from one generation to the next can be cleared from your soul and your body. I will be talking about that in our upcoming Facebook Live. For now, I strongly encourage you to look at the topic of pain body as outlined by author and teacher Eckhart Tolle. Continue on with your affirmations and lessons. Post questions in the Facebook group. I'll be sure to respond, and I'm looking forward to connecting with you there. Bye for now.